Hey, my name is Damika, and I teach entrepreneurs like you how to brand, scale, and automate your business so that you can spend less time working in your business and more time doing the things that you love. Today, we're going to talk about setting up a business management system in Notion. If you're not familiar with Notion, it's an all in one project management software that's kind of like a digital notebook for you to organize your thoughts, your notes, your meetings, and your calendar all in one place. And today, we're going to be building out a business management system or workspace. Think of it as like a command center for running your business. It's one place that you get to open up every day that has everything that you need to know about your business in terms of your processes, your systems, your contact details, maybe a place to manage your invoices or meeting notes. And even if you're just running a business by yourself, it makes it a lot easier to grab information that you need day to day. And when it's time for you to scale your business or share information with your team or even maybe your clients, this is one place that you could store all of this information and easily disseminate it. So this video is for users who are at least familiar with the basics of Notion, but it's going to be easy enough for you to follow along and catch on, even if you're not. All right, let's jump into it. The first question that I usually get asked is, where do I start? Notion has a lot of great tools and a lot of great templates, but it's like a blank slate, so it can be pretty overwhelming. So the first thing that I usually like to do is jump into some sort of whiteboard or mind mapping tool. I like to use Figma and just break down all of the pillars or pieces of information that I'd want to track within my Notion system before getting into the app. So for this demo, we're going to be using a photo booth company. I gave it a really unique name, Acme Photo Booth Rental. And we're going to be breaking down things that I want to track within Acme are the projects, people, processes, clients, and finances. Within each of these pillars, there's some sub-content. Like for projects, I want to be able to track like the milestones, the timelines, and tasks. Under people, I want to have a database maybe that has all of my team members, perhaps even give them dashboards so that they can see a dedicated view of the tasks and projects that they have going on. Under processes, it's a photo booth rental company, so I maybe want to have a checklist for equipment, a setup and teardown process. For clients, contact information, the value of the project, and maybe even a booking schedule. And last but not least, for finances, I want to have a place to store my invoices and track things like my budget and expenses. All right, so now that I have an idea of what I actually want to put within the Notion team space, I'm going to head over to Notion. So I have a brand new team space here. I just called it Acme Photo Booth Inc. And once you get started in Notion, you're probably going to see a get started page and a couple different templates like wikis, meetings. The only thing that we're actually going to keep here is meetings. But it's a great idea to head over to the Notion template catalog. There are a lot of great things that you could get started with so that you're not just building from a blank page. All right, so I'm going to get rid of the getting started here. And what I'm actually going to do is create a brand new blank page and call it Acme Photo Booth Home. And what this page is going to do is act as our landing page or a dashboard within our workspace. I'm going to go over here and make it full width just because I like the way that looks better. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is create a callout. And a callout is just a little box, makes it a little bit easier for you to see key information. So we're going to call this our navigation. And within here, I'm going to place those pillars that I listed out in my mind map. So first thing I'd want to list out here is processes. And just to make it a little bit easier on the eyes, I'm going to turn this into some columns. So for now, these are all static, of course. And as we build out the pages in the next step, we're going to turn these into links. So I'm going to head over to my side panel here. And what I'd like to do is start building out pages within the team space. Oh, first, let me give this an icon. I'll give it a little home. And what we can also do here is add a cover. Let's find something that's related to photo booths. Perfect. What I want to do is click the plus sign to add a page within this main navigation. And the reason I want to do that is because it's going to then turn into a subpage. So I'll show you what that looks like. Let's give this a little icon. Processes repeat. So I'll use that little icon. So here's an example. So once we create a page, it then turns into a subpage under the main homepage. And we want to do this because if you're going to be adding other people to your team, it's a lot easier to just add them to this one overarching page and then remove access for any pages that they don't need. So here we have processes, and what we're going to do here is create, again, subpages for the other information that we want to add. So the first thing I'm going to create a page for is the equipment checklist. And there's a couple ways that we could do this. We can create a to-do list and keep it really simple and say like we want to have like a camera, maybe we have some backdrops, sandbags, and then just have a checklist. However, what we want to do is create repeatable processes. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm actually going to use a database instead. Notion is built on databases, and it's a really great way to track your information. There's a lot of cool different features that you have, like who was the last person that edited, and it just makes things a lot easier to repeat and track. So what I'm going to do here is a inline database. And the only difference between an inline database and a full page database is that just like we created a subpage from within the processes page, a full page database just create a subpage instead of having it within this individual page that we're creating. So I'm going to name this equipment checklist, and I'll hide it because we already have the page labeled as such. So we have the name of the item, and now I'm going to give it some properties here. So maybe we want to have a number for the quantity. Put that over here. Something else that we might want to check is whether the equipment is in good order, maybe it's missing, or maybe it needs to be replaced. So I'm going to add a select here and then call it status. And then add a couple options like good condition, make that green, needs replacement. Oops. Make that red, or it might be missing. And then some built-in features here that I could use are the last edited time, so that we always have a log of when this was actually checked off, and last edited by. And we're just going to name that last reviewed by. Turn this into last checked. We don't really need tags, so I'm just going to hide that. All right, so here we might have our camera. We have one of them. Let's say it's in good condition. We might have some backdrops. So we have two of them, maybe needs replacement, and some sandbag. We have four of them missing. And you know what I'll do here? I will also add a text field for notes. So this is a really simple database. Now, what we can do here is open it up, and then I could write additional notes in the page body, but we have a really clear understanding of what's going on with each of these items in the checklist. All right, we're going to hop back up over to processes. Let me give this a icon, checklist. There we go. And the next thing that we need to create here is a setup and teardown process. So I'm going to create a new page and call this setup and tear. So I actually just got ChatGPT to create some demo information for me here that I place in this page. But what I can do here is turn all of this. See if I could do it this way. Into a to-do list. There we go. And that's just optional. So perfect. So under processes, now we have a setup and teardown process. What should I give this as an icon? All right, awesome. So under our processes page, we now have our equipment checklist and our setup and teardown process. So this can go on. You could add more processes or standard operating procedures under this in the same way, just using this as this one landing page and then creating subpages beneath. So when we go into our sidebar here, we'll now see that we have the subpages for equipment checklist and the setup and teardown process. So I'm going to head back to the home page. And now we'll see that our pages are actually landing at the bottom here. So that's what happens when you create subpages within Notion. So I'm actually just going to replace this heading processes and make it a link at the top here. And now what I'm going to do is remove this static text and just turn it into an actual link to the pages that I want to have. So to create a link or mention somebody, you just use that @ sign across Notion. So that first page is going to be our equipment checklist. I'm going to search for it here. Found it, and the setup and teardown schedule. Perfect. So now these are actual links in our navigation. All right, awesome. We're going to move on to people. So I'm going to go over here, create another page, call it people, give it a cute icon. Here's some people. Perfect. I'm going to open this as a full page. I really like using full width for all the pages. I feel like it looks better. I'm going to create another page here. And now what we're going to create is our team database. So I'm going to create another inline database. But this time, what we are going to track is the team members. So we already have a name field. I'm going to get rid of tags. We could always add that back in if we need it. But what we want to focus on here is the contact information. So I'm going to add person. So the person field here is anyone that's a guest or a team member in your actual Notion organization. I could actually tag that person. So right now, only Acne Photo Booth Inc. is here. But let's say I shared this page with myself. I'm just going to invite myself as a guest. Then I could actually tag myself here as a person. So I'm going to name this Mika Art. And some other things that I might want to track is my email. Perfect. My phone number. I'll put my role here. And maybe I want to have another person as reporting manager. I'll put I report to the company. Another thing that I could also do here is when I open it up, if I wanted to add a image, here is a random person. Perfect. So I'm going to add an image here. And I could also do a gallery view. And there we go. The image of said team member is actually going to pop up. We have another really simple database and just a way to track the people on your team. All right, I'm going to head back to the people page. Whoops. Give it another icon here. What about an employee badge? There we go. So I'm just going to do the same thing and create a link to the page that we just created. Perfect, it popped up right away. So we're going to come back to the dashboards because we actually need to set up the projects before we're able to create the dashboards, because we want to have a view of the tasks and the projects that each team member is working on. So for projects, Notion actually already has a really great template that we could use. So I'm going to head over to the Notion template page. And it's already suggested here that we have projects, tasks, and sprints. If you're not familiar with sprints, they're part of a project management framework called Agile or Scrum, primarily used by software engineering teams. Instead of working on a large set of features, for example, an app, over a longer period of time and launching all at once, they break down the projects into increments or bite-sized chunks of 2 weeks called sprints. It's a great way to work even if you're not a software engineer or working on an app, because it allows you to work in iteration and get things out into the market quickly, or even just see what's going on in your overall project in smaller sections, allowing you to execute projects a lot faster. I'm going to get started with this template. Let me move myself out of the way here and add it into my team space. Now, this looks a little bit overwhelming. It's just the way that things are organized. So there's a list view of all the tasks, or you could see it by project. I'm not really a fan of seeing it in project view. What I like to work with is the sprint board, but just for a brief overview, we just have a status, whether it's in progress, started, or done, the assignee, the due date, the priority of the task, and some and now we have what sprint we're in. And remember, sprints are those 2-week periods of work. And you have the related project. We're going to get rid of the GitHub pull request because for this specific project, we're not pushing any code. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to make this the main view. So a cool thing that we could do here is filter. Generally speaking, once we build out dashboards and everybody has their own specific use case, the only person that would be using this overview of all of the tasks is either the business owner or the person in charge of disseminating tasks to each team member. But what we can do here, if you need to, is you could filter by either the task name or the due date. The most useful thing here is generally filter by the assignee. So I can see things that are assigned to me. So let's move on to projects. So now we see, I'm going to, again, just jump over to this overview. We have a list of all the projects that we are working on. So I could create a new project here and call it birthday party. Give it a cake. And we are in planning. So maybe I'm the person that's going to be in charge of this project, and it is booked for, let's say, the 22nd. So now I have some key details about this project. There's some other cool things that we could do here. I'm going to put that this is a high priority item. I'm going to hide blocked by and is blocking for now. So some other pretty cool things we could do here is the databases within Notion can be connected and talk to each other. So once we create the client database, I could actually link the client that this project is specifically related to. So what I could also do here is I could create a filter that I could have all my projects in one place, but I could create a filter that will separate client projects from internal projects. So to do that, what I would want to do here is create a tag, and you create a tag through a select. And I'm going to have an option for client project and internal project. I'll give them different colors here. Oops. Okay, I'll leave it gray. So I'm going to give this a client project tag, and I'm going to give these ones all internal project tags. And now what I'm going to do is create another view and call it client projects. And I think I want to see them in a board view. Makes it a little bit easier. Now I'm just going to change the filter to the tag and put the tag is a client project. And I could do the same thing here and create another board view and make it internal project. I don't know, an icon for internal. Now I'm just going to filter that by internal project. So what's great about these Notion databases is that you can have a ton of information, but you can filter it and manipulate it the way that you want to make it easier for you to understand or for people on your team. All right, so now we have our project set up. Now we're going to take a look at our sprint board. I'm just going to go here and change the filters a little bit. The template can be honestly a little bit overwhelming. So I am going to, right now things have subgroups. I'm going to remove the subgroups just so that we could see everything. Perfect. That's a lot more simple to digest. So now in our sprint board, this is just going to show us all of the tasks that we have assigned across the team for the next 2 weeks. We could do the same thing here and filter by either sprint or assignee. So anything that's just assigned to myself, anything that's assigned to the company. We could also see a backlog. So anything that is not assigned to sprint will land over here. And then we also have sprint planning. So this just gives you an overview of the sprints that are upcoming. You can create as many as you want or as little as you want and start putting tasks that may not be able to get done in the next 2 weeks into the next sprint. So now we have an overview of our project overview, our sprint board, our tasks. And last but not least, we could actually just see a really simple overview of the sprints that are coming up. How many tasks are included, how many of them have been completed, and giving them the dates. So you don't need to stick to the 2 weeks, but the general framework is 2 weeks for a sprint. Okay, so we have covered project, sprint, tasks. Now I'm just going to get them added into our homepage. I was a little bit confused on why it wasn't showing up on the page, but as you can see on the side panel here, they're not actually living within the dashboard page, like the home page, as subpages. So I'm just going to move them all into there, and we're going to see them popping up one by one. Cool. So, I'm going to rename this page Project Overview because I want projects to be a holding page. In Scrum, we actually call these epics. So I'm going to give this a mountain icon, not a mountain. But for simplicity, I'll just call it Project Overview. Oops, what am I doing? Okay, so what I also want to do here is just create a holding page or like a landing page for projects specifically. I'll give it the mountain here. So now I'm just going to drop all of these pages into this overarching projects page. Doing this is optional, but it just makes for a cleaner sidebar and easier navigation. So now I'm going to head back and turn this into the header in the navigation. Get rid of the text. And I'll just do the same thing, linking those pages that I created. There we go. So we've completed the pages and subpages for our projects. Now we're going to head over to clients. So I'm going to create a landing page for clients. Just open this in full page. And now we're going to create some subpages. So I'm going to create a database this time. And I'm going to make it a full page database. And I'm going to call this contact list. Contact list. So this database is going to be really similar to the team database that we put together. So we want to have the contact name. I'm just going to change this. We'll probably want their email. Let's see, their phone number. And Notion is just going to populate based on the information that I'm putting in. Like, what else would you think that you'd want? You're probably going to want their job title. I'm going to put that in the front over here. I'll hide tags for now. We might use tags later on, but it's not necessary right now. We'll put the website, and that's a URL field. Let's see, their company. That would be helpful. Just put a little briefcase. company. So we have contact name, company, job title, email, phone number, website, and then the list can go on. Honestly, we could do something similar to Teams if you want to add an image for them. And then again, let's make John Doe. He works at Acme Inc. And again, the great thing about databases is that now each item is its own page. So you could open it up and you could also create another page or even another database if you had other information to track within this specific contact detail. So going back to connecting it to the projects, a cool thing that we could do here is what's called a relation. So this is just getting the different databases to talk to each other. So I'm going to add a relation here, and I'm going to link it to our project overview database. I'm just going to call this related project. Making these connections within databases just makes it easier for you to jump back and forth when there's related information. So if you're in a specific project, let's say the birthday party project that we created, and John Doe is actually the client that's connected, and you need to quickly find some information about him, whether that's some meeting notes that you had or his phone number, website, you're going to be able to jump into that contact detail directly from that project specifically without having to go and search outside of that specific database. So I'm going to also show it on the project overview database. And I'm just going to name that contact or related contact to be more specific. And I'll jump into the project database to show you exactly how that works. So now I'm going to add birthday party here. And if I go and open birthday party, you're going to see that the related contact is now John Doe. And I can jump back and forth. So you could do that as many times as you like with as many different databases. As your business management system gets more robust, you may have different databases that you want to talk to each other or connect over time, and you could just create a relation property. All right, so we have our contact list. I'm going to head back to clients. The next thing that I want to add here is, let's go back home. I actually forgot. A booking calendar. So let me just move this over. Make things a little bit cleaner as we go. So I'm going to create a new page here, and within that page, I'm going to have a database. So I'm going to call this page booking calendar. And I am going to, instead of creating a brand new database, I'm going to create what's called a database view. So this is going to be taking information that already exists in another database. For example, what we're going to take here is tasks with a specific tag, and it's going to populate it into a calendar. Okay, so we're going to find a calendar view, and we are going to make sure that we're going to link the task database because that's where we're going to have information on our bookings. You could have a separate database for that, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to put it in the task database and separate it by a filter. All right, so we have tasks. I'm just going to hide the database title, makes it look a little bit cleaner, and turn this into full width. Now, what I need to do is I'm just going to open up a random task, and we need to make sure that we have some sort of tag here so that we're able to filter it. So these are just the default tags. I'm going to get rid of them. Got to move myself out of the way. I'm going to delete these. Similarly to how we did the filtering by client or internal project within the projects database, I'm going to just use a filter and make it a client. I'll call it booking. Or internal. All right, so I'm going to label a couple of these booking just so that we could see how this shows up on the calendar. I'm going to turn this one into I'm going to change the relation here and make it the birthday party, just so that you could get an idea of how these like relations work and using these different what are called properties. So now I'm going to create a filter. It's the very first button here when you hover over, and I'm going to filter by tags. And I'm just going to select bookings. So now the only thing that shows up on this calendar are client bookings. So it's a really quick way to see what's on the horizon for what's coming up in terms of client-specific tasks. All right, so we have a booking calendar and we have a contact list. So I'm going to head back to clients. I'll give these some icons. Oops. And we can make this one a calendar. All right, so I'm going to link to our booking calendar. There we go. All right, so we have our processes, people, projects, clients. Last but not least, we are going to sort out our finances. So Notion actually has a pretty cool finance template. I believe it's located under personal. Not sure if they have a business specific one, but we could turn it into a business use case. So I'm going to just head back over to the Notion template store. And I'm going to search for budget. Don't see anything, maybe finance. It's spell. So I'm going to search maybe personal. Yep, so we have a simple budget tracker. This looks good. This is something that we could build off of. So whenever you're building pages in Notion, if you have an idea for something, there might be somebody that's already built a template for you. And it's a really great place to start off, especially when you're starting out in Notion. Using a template and just customizing it to what you need might actually be simpler than starting from scratch. So I'm going to get this template. I'm going to add it to my workspace. Awesome. I'm going to make this a full width page. All right, I'll just start making this look the way that I want it to look. I'm going to remove this cover. Keep the icon simple. I will call this budget tracker. All right, I won't play around too much with these examples. I think the examples work for the purpose of showing how this database would work, but we just have the specific expense, the amount. We actually have a calculation. If you hover over the bottom of any database, you could actually start creating a calculation by hovering over this button. And it could be by the count of items, the percentage, the date. So right now we have a calculation of all the items, monetary values. And it's already separated by month in a calendar view, similar to what we did with the booking calendar, have by category. So all of these different views are just playing around with the different filters that are available. You could also see things in a timeline, a list, a gallery. The world is your oyster with database views. So now we have our budget tracker. I'm going to head back to the home page and just tag that in here. Oh, first, actually, I need to make a holding page for finances. So I'll do that first. Give it a money related icon and then just move those pages into the right place. So I'm just moving the budget tracker into the finances holding page. So yeah, now it's like really clean. We have our homepage, processes, people, projects, clients, finances, and then if we drop them down, we have all of the sub pages. Now we just want to create a database to manage our invoices. So I'm going to create another database, full page database. I'm going to call this invoice tracker. So here we're actually going to make use of relations. So I'm going to create a relation property to make sure that I'm tagging the correct contact that's related with this invoice. So I'm going to grab from the contact list I'm going to show it on the contact list and just name it invoice. Give it a different icon here. I'll create another relation for a project. So that would be the project overview database. Just rename that. And now I'm going to use a file upload so that I can actually upload the invoice. So that's another really simple database example, just to keep track of your contacts, invoices. The name is a default property field, so you want to put like either the project name. You could even just tag the project if you wanted to. So we have the birthday party, just to make sure that there's a title for each of them. But yeah, this is a really simple way to track your invoices and have it connected to other databases as well. So I'll just do an example here, John Doe, and then we have the project birthday party. So now if I open up that birthday party database item, you can see that the related invoices here are tagged, which is perfect. Just want to make sure that this invoice tracker is tagged. There we go. And last but not least, now that we have everything set up, I just want to go through and create a visual space that's similar to the homepage, but that's dedicated for each team member, just so that you could go in and see the tasks that are assigned to you, what's going on specific to your working day versus having this very general overview. So I'm going to head back over to the people page, and I'm going to create a new database, full page database, and I'm going to call this team dashboards. So now what I'm going to do here that's a little bit different is I'm actually going to create a template, because the idea is that we're going to be adding more team members. We don't want to have to rebuild this page that we're building over and over again. So to create a template, I'm going to head over to this new button, click the drop down, and create a new template. I'll just open it in full page. So I'll actually show you an example of a dashboard that I use within my own company and how I manage my day-to-day. So this is my super intense dashboard that I use at my agency to get a really big overview of what's going on. We have a couple different people on our team, and everybody has different roles. So it's important for us to not get overwhelmed with all of the tasks that are going on in the organization or all of the notes. So everything is filtered specifically to myself or any other team member. So I have my sprints, I have a calendar view of my task, I have a list view of my tasks as well. I've created some notifications, and you could also do cool things like add little plugins. I have a motivational plugin and a clock just to spice up my dashboard. And then there's just a bunch of different views to different databases that I have within my company. So we're not going to make the dashboard that we're building this intense, but what we will do is focus on what tasks are specifically for this user, and maybe just having some links to frequently used pages. So I'm going to head back over to our Acme photo booth team space, and I'll start by creating a call out. We'll make this a navigation, and as a team member, you might want to have a quick way to navigate to the homepage. So I'm just going to link to the homepage. Maybe I want to be able to see the overall sprint board. I'll create a link to the equipment checklist and a link to the teardown and setup schedule. So we have a really simple navigation. Now I'm going to create a database view, and I'll make it a board view. And I'm just going to pull in the task database, but I'm only going to want to pull in my specific task. So I'll create a board view. I'm going to link it to tasks. Perfect. I'll just hide the database title. And now I'm going to create a filter here, and I'm going to make the assignee me. So instead of putting a specific, because we're creating a template and we want this to be repeatable and quick, we're just going to put this to me. So that's just whoever the person that's like looking at the page at that specific time, they're going to see things that are assigned to them. It gets a little bit confusing when you're building out dashboards for other people because you're only going to see your own stuff. But once they're on the page, they're going to see what's assigned to them. And if you want to toggle between other people, you totally can. But this just makes it easier so that when we're creating a new template for somebody else, it's just going to generate with their own stuff by default. Awesome. So that's a really simple dashboard, personalized view of the things that you need, the links that you need. This can get as intense as the dashboard that I showed that I use at my agency, or it could be as simple as just your personal notes and just like a workspace for yourself. I'd like to add a couple more properties here so that we have like a person, so the owner of the dashboard, and maybe we want to see like who created it. So created by, but I'll hide this one because it's not as relevant. Always hide, and I will hide these tags as well. Now we've created this template. We're going to hit back and we could actually see it in action. We have a couple that were created by accident here. So now I'm just going to make sure that I turn this into the default. I'll make it so that it's for all views. What this just means is that maybe I created a different view that's like a gallery view or a board view. I just want to make sure that this is the default for every single view that I create. All right, so I'm going to create a new dashboard. And it's going to generate that page that I just created as a template. Might take a little bit of time, but here we are. Awesome. So now I'm going to assign it to myself. And if I wanted to, I could favorite this page so that in my dashboard on the side, it's going to show up for me here. I should actually give it a name. So I'm going to give it Tabika's dashboard. And I'll give myself a little icon. There we go. So now I have my dashboard favorited, and this is my place to work every day. Although one thing that we forgot to add in here was meetings. Actually, what I am going to do is I'm going to rename this processes columns company so that it encompasses a little bit more than just the process in the company. And I'm going to add meetings under that. And just link to the meetings. And this page is another database that is just used to store meeting notes, which can become really helpful. You could tag different users as the attendees. What we could do here is add another property maybe for the project it's related to. So I'll create a relation project. So yeah, I could add what project we were talking about in this meeting. Yeah, so this is a Notion template, but it's a really great starting point. Now we have a pretty robust business management system built within Notion where we can track the things that are going on in our company in terms of our processes, our meetings, keep track of who's in our company as team members. We have a place to manage our tasks, our clients, and our finances. So this can be as simple as this or as robust as you'd want to get, but this is a really great starting point for you to start getting information out of your head and into one digital workspace that can be easily shared with your team members or even just a place for yourself to grab information. Because as entrepreneurs, we carry a lot of this information in our head, and it's great to just have one place where we know that the information exists and that it can be easily shared.